everybody. Hi, it's Xanthe here. Trying again. I prattled on for too long and split the video and I can't be bothered joining it back together again. So I wanted to talk about autism again because it keeps coming up. It's kind of interesting to me because several people on social media keep saying, "You're on the autistic spectrum, I can definitely see it, blah 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 blah," and they carry on about what they can see. And they said, well, you'll just have to get yourself some more better professionals to diagnose you. I've already explained a little bit about the confusion with me, told that I was Aspergers by a psychologist and a psychiatrist, but they wouldn't put it in writing because they don't diagnose adults, they said, and also because of stigma. And that was in Australia. And then some psychiatrists that hardly saw me when I was in hospital in Australia said they don't see any signs of autism, they only see bipolar. And then after being seen by another psychiatrist in New Zealand, they said I can only go with the bipolar on what they've said in Australia because they haven't seen you in mania. So then when they saw me in mania, they said, yes, I'm very confident the diagnosis is correct. And then very sensitive to meds, so I'm on lower doses than most people. Otherwise the side effects are intolerable to me. I had an opportunity for an assessment, which I thought, yay, I kind of find out. But going into the assessment, they said we're not going to give you a clear-cut diagnosis either way. So very confusing. So they said that only in rare cases they will give the diagnosis to an adult and when they are more severely impacted. And it won't be a clear diagnosis, it will be kind of like a retrospective one because they only consider it to be a childhood disorder. So that was my experience. I got called a liar and full of shit by someone that lives in another country because they looked up on a website and saw that they can do adult assessments in New Zealand. Well, I've had an assessment, but that was my experience, what I was told. And with my assessment, they concluded that I do have overlap with autism, but my autistic-like traits are better explained by other diagnoses. I'm not sure how you say that word, because sorry, I get my words confused. Bipolar disorder, bipolar type 1, which you're not seeing the extremes of because I'm on meds. PTSD, the childhood presentation with avoidance and shutdowns, and social anxiety disorder, currently mild, but it was severe when I was a child. So these people on social media saying to me, no, they got it wrong and you need to get reassessed, you need to pay for a private assessment, blah blah blah. Who do I believe? Do I believe the people on social media who've only seen me interact in certain ways, or do I have to trust the professionals with 7 years experience, even though a lot of professionals have misdiagnosed me over the years, especially the treatment-resistant depression for 20 years when it was really bipolar 1. That was a big mistake because I was on antidepressants, which made things worse. So anyway, why will I not pay money to go and get a private assessment? Chances are they'll probably just say the same thing because I'm in the grey area. Like if I do an online test, for example, I do come in the you likely have autism category, but I'm not at the extreme end, so I will still be in the grey area. 2, I was told by these professionals if I do if I did get assessed as being on the autistic spectrum, which is all very subjective anyway, all of the diagnoses are, and they all have overlap. There's nothing to do about it anyway, apart from give me a few tips, so it's probably just stuff I know anyway. I lose my train of thought, sorry. My brain is struggling at the moment. I forget what I just said, so it is quite hard for me. So they see the bipolar and the PTSD as a priority for treatment. I'm managing the social anxiety by familiar situations, so I guess that's where it looks like repetitive behaviours, and also but they're not, my repetitive behaviours are not significant enough for a diagnosis. So I guess it depends on, you know, what the subjectivity is of being significant enough is. I tend to eat mostly the same foods, which probably isn't very good for me, but I do it because of my anxiety, yeah. Partly because I also diagnosed celiac, so I do get very anxious about cross-contamination and stuff, because then I will get really sick if I get gluten. I do find it very, very, very anxiety-inducing dealing with unfamiliar people, but I can connect with people on a deeper level when I feel safe with them. So that's one of the reasons they've ruled out ASD, because Autism Spectrum Disorder, because it's situational. The difficulty I have with eye contact, which includes looking at the camera, to be honest, I have to try and pretend it's not there because I know that I'm kind of talking to the public, is attributed mainly to the social anxiety disorder. The fidgeting that I do, some people call it stimming, dozens of different ways when I've looked back on myself, is mainly, even going from my own observation, from what I've learned about my conditions, the anxiety, and also the bipolar, because they have something which they call psychomotor agitation, which pretty much, well, I think it's pretty much the same thing as stimming, but anyway, so that's the needing to move and stuff. I do it because it's just, I need to get the energy out, and also because it helps me to speak, to move. Otherwise I tend to dissociate, so you can sort of see, for me, it's helping with my trauma stuff. Sensory issues, it's seen for me, is not significant enough to be impairing, and it should improve, they said, with treatment for the PTSD. So most of the time it's more like a quirk, like I can hear things in the next room, I can smell things like bushfires before anyone else notices, and I'm practically choking by the time that anyone else notices. That can be a PTSD thing because it's being like hypervigilance, that kind of thing. Sometimes it's exaggerated, and I can also link it to PTSD, like someone put cutlery in the drawer when I was lying down one time from another room, and I leaped. I felt like I was going to leap out of my skin. It sounded to me like a car crash, but it was just cutlery in the drawer. So sometimes the sounds become amplified by, and the smells, and I do find light very glaring and things like that. but it's attributed to PTSD. What else? Sensory issues, you have the food textures, things like that. Not significant enough to be impairing because I can eat a varied enough diet to be okay. Since a little child, cut every little scrap of fat off meat because I just get it in my mouth and it's like that. You have to spit it out. What else? So my difficulties with communications, mainly attributed to the bipolar anxiety. So, they can account for everything that looks like ASDs. So then I just have to accept that. And they say there's no benefit for me anyway. The only thing is that I guess with the huge division in autism, that would be accepted by some and dismissed by others. So what's the point anyway, is what I think. I can understand, I'm of the view where I caution against self-diagnosis because even the experts get it wrong. So I also don't consider my disorders to be my identity. See, a lot of people, most people apparently on the autistic spectrum consider autism to be their identity. So that's a bit different as well. I'm more about reducing stigma, helping people understand, helping people have more empathy, that kind of thing. That's one of the reasons why I speak. And also just to face my fear of speaking with my imperfect voice, with all my flaws. So, yeah. So yeah, there's a war going on just social media. ABA versus non-ABA. Self-diagnosis versus non-self-diagnosis. Whether it's whether you call it a disorder, whether you go by the medical model, whether you reject it completely and make your own thing. Yeah, there's a huge diversity, but it's very polarised. And I do find that I tend to identify with some people who do have some traits in common, so they find it very, very interesting. People who have been diagnosed autistic that do see the overlap with me. Yeah, other ones that have been diagnosed autistic see. You're just obsessed with the idea and you're just full of shit and whatever, and so, you can't believe me, so what's the point? But I think that definitely there seems to be a group of people that are trying to be distancing themselves from the word disability. They don't like the word disorder, now it's disability, they don't like mental illness. I think that's problematic, to be honest, because most people on the autistic spectrum have comorbid conditions as well, which can cause, can result in a lot of struggling. And when people dismiss the struggle, that's what pisses me off, So I think there needs to be a balanced view. It's not, it's because bipolar is getting pulled into it as well. It's not just a difference, it's not just a quirk. Yeah, there can be some kind of really fascinating experiences with it, but it can be very, very disabling. So anyway, I hope it hasn't split this time, so I'm talking too much. Thanks.